No doubt about it. Leeds are new stadium plans have been put on hold for a few years, but it looks like 49ers Enterprise might be interested in actually adding a few thousand seats. However, those seats would be more about improving their offering to the corporate sector. Is this because it can affect income in such a large way to get that corporate money in?
Yeah, look, it's a sticking plaster over a real problem. Elland Road, everybody knows, it's a great stadium, but it's a tired old stadium, a bit like Everton's Goodison Park in many ways. Uh, and yes, I can imagine Angus Kinnear, the chief executive there, is tearing his hair out because in the Championship, where they are, you can't really justify putting in that major long-term stadium planning and the costs. So you've got to try and boost your revenues wherever you can, and that would be, as I say, some short-term fixes in some of the areas. I think it will cause a bit of problem amongst the Leeds fan base, another old traditional fan base as well, because they will see those queues for the season tickets, and then they'll see reductions in spaces available. But again, this whole money god and the green god of jealousy and greed is coming in, and hey, the whole thing comes in the end to players' wages and transfer fees. That's what it all comes down to, and we should never forget that. That's where the big inflation is. Now, the fans love it when you're getting new players and having all those signings, and they hate it when they got to pay those ticket price increases. We understand that. It's human nature. But that's where the problem still is in the game, is those sort of costs spiralling and finding a way to try and justify them. There's a big talk at the moment, big debate all through the game at present about it seems to have got to a tipping point when the increases are getting to that point where it really is starting to show some action. Before, there used to be, I'd say, a few percentage of fans each season were starting to drop out. Now we're seeing it get into the 5 to 10%, I think, starting to drop out in a season. But at present, tourism is filling that demand, but for how long that will carry on, I don't know. So at some point, the costs have got to be the thing that have got to be restrained rather than the revenue increases. So it really needs some food for thought by all of us involved in the game.
And you mentioned new stadium plans for Leeds, and obviously hard to plan for that when you're in the Championship. Do those plans begin day one of getting promoted to the Premier League, or you need some sustainability inside the Premier League before you can look at that?
I think you've got to look at a couple of years at least in the Premier League. I've always said you need 5 years in the Premier League to be considered, more stable. You need to go through a number of transfer windows to make a squad that should be able to be there. And we've seen that with some of the clubs that you would think would not be in danger of relegation. It's a huge investment. Leeds is a big club. It would fill a big new stadium, no problem about it. But I think, yes, they would like to see a bit more stability. They've missed that chance just coming down just recently, and so it's a problem for Leeds, but they've got to get back up there. I think a couple of seasons and they'd start to push the buttons to go forward. And that's what I think the 49ers group would be looking at, is that little bit of at least a hope that they've got that they can stay up there rather than coming straight down the first year. If they stayed up a second year, I think they'd press the button.